My dad demanded I sign over my house to my brother because his girlfriend got pregnant and he would be a father soon. I said I would think about it, then went home, changed the locks, and cut all contacts. I'm not going to pretend I grew up in some horrible family situation. My parents weren't abusive or anything like that. They fed me, clothed me, and made sure I went to school. All the basics were covered, but here's the thing about basics. They're just that basic. And when you're the second kid in a family where the first kid can do no wrong, basics are about all you're going to get. My brother Tyler is 3 years older than me. Golden Child doesn't even begin to cover it. This guy could mess up a bowl of cereal and my parents would find a way to blame the spoon. Meanwhile, I could ace a test and get a "that's nice, honey" while they planned Tyler's next big life event. It was always like that. Always has been. Want some examples? Sure. When I was 12 and Tyler was 15, we both wanted bikes. I saved up birthday money and did extra chores for 3 months. Bought myself a used bike from a neighbor for $40. Tyler mentioned wanting one, and Dad took him to the bike shop the next weekend. Came home with a $500 mountain bike. When I asked why Tyler got a new one, Dad said Tyler needed reliable transportation. I was riding a bike with mismatched tires. High school. I made honor roll every semester. Tyler barely passed most of his classes, but he was popular, so that was what mattered. When he got a C in English, they hired him a tutor. When I got a B in chemistry, my only B mom told me I needed to study harder. I'm not bitter about it or anything. Okay, maybe I was when I was younger, but by the time I hit my 20s, I'd pretty much accepted that this was just how things were. Some families have favorites. Mine did. Tyler got the attention, the praise, the financial help whenever he needed it. I got really good at figuring things out on my own. And honestly, that ended up being the better deal because while Tyler learned that someone would always bail him out, I learned how to actually solve problems. After high school, I went to community college, paid for it myself, working nights at a shipping warehouse. Not glamorous, but it covered tuition and kept me fed. The warehouse job was brutal. 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. loading and unloading trucks, but it paid $12 an hour, which was enough to cover community college tuition and rent. Tyler went to a 4-year university 2 states over, full ride from mum and dad, new car, spending money, the whole package. When I asked if they could help with my books one semester, just the books, not even tuition. Dad told me it would build character to work for what I wanted. Character, right? I finished my associate's degree and got a job as an insurance adjuster. Started at the bottom, worked my way up. Lived in a cramped apartment with 2 roommates who never cleaned the bathroom. Drove a car that had more issues than a celebrity magazine. But I was saving. Every month I put away whatever I could. Some months it was $50. Some months it was $300. My goal was clear. I wanted to own a house before I turned 30. Everyone told me it was impossible. Even the financial advisor at my bank looked skeptical when I asked about first-time homebuyer programs. But I did it anyway, cut every corner I could, packed lunches instead of buying them, stayed in on weekends while everyone else went out, watched my checking account grow slowly, painfully slowly, but it grew. Tyler, meanwhile, bounced around from job to job. He'd work somewhere for 6 months, decide it wasn't his passion, quit, and move back home while he figured out his next move. This happened 4 times in 5 years. Each time, Mum and Dad welcomed him back with open arms. Didn't charge him rent. Let him eat their food while he found himself. By 25, I had almost $40,000 saved. Started seriously looking at houses. Everything was either way out of my price range or in neighborhoods where you heard sirens constantly. Then I found it. 3-bedroom ranch 40 minutes outside the city. Needed work, but structurally sound. I offered asking price, $5,000. They countered minus $2,000. I accepted, put down 20%, and suddenly I was a homeowner. I was 27 years old, and I owned a house. Nobody helped me. Nobody gave me $1. I'd earned every single piece of it. Mum and Dad came to see it once. Once. They walked through, made some comments about how much work it needed, and left after 20 minutes. Dad mentioned something about how it was pretty far from them. That was it. No congratulations. No, we're proud of you. Just observations about what was wrong with it, but whatever. I didn't buy it for them. I bought it for me, and I loved that house. Every creaky floorboard, every weird angle in the kitchen, every draft that came through the windows in winter, it was mine. I'd earned it. Nobody gave it to me, nobody helped me get it, and nobody could take it away. Or so I thought. Fast forward 3 years. I'm 30. I had spent the past 3 years fixing up that house, and by then it was in great shape. All the work I put into it had paid off because I had built up a solid amount of equity. The neighborhood had gotten a lot better too. A few new families had moved in, property values kept rising, and the whole area was improving. The little fixer-upper I bought for a steal was now worth about 60% more than I originally paid. I never planned on selling it though. I loved living there, and it had truly become my home. I had finally put down roots. During those same 3 years, Tyler had been renting a place across town with his girlfriend. Their rental was much nicer than the house I started with, but he constantly complained about the rent going up and how he hated throwing money away every month. He worked in sales at a car dealership and made decent money, but nothing amazing. His girlfriend worked at a salon, and together they earned a respectable income. The problem was that they spent just as much as they made. They always had nice clothes, bought new phones every year, took weekend trips, ate out all the time, and never seemed to think about saving money. Then Megan got pregnant. Almost overnight, Tyler decided he had to own a house. Not that he wanted one. In his mind, he needed one because he believed you could not raise a child in an apartment. Funny, considering millions of people do exactly that every day, but I kept that opinion to myself. He started looking for a house and quickly realized how bad the market was. Everything he could afford was either in a terrible neighborhood or needed major repairs. Anything that was move-in ready was way outside his budget, especially with a baby on the way. Megan also had very clear ideas about the kind of home where she wanted to bring their baby home, so finding the right place became a huge problem. I only knew all this because Mom called me almost every week with updates about Tyler's house search, like I was supposed to care as much as she did. She talked about how stressed he was, how impossible it had become to find the right house, and how expensive everything was. I usually said something polite, wished him luck, and got back to my own life. Then one Sunday afternoon, Dad called me out of the blue. He asked if I could come over for dinner because we needed to have a family meeting. He said it was important. Looking back, I should have known something was coming. My family never called a family meeting unless someone wanted something. Still, I went because I wanted to see what this was all about. I showed up at 6 o'clock. Mom had made pot roast, and she even pulled out the nice dishes she only used on holidays or when she wanted to impress somebody. Tyler was already there with Megan. She was about 6 months pregnant and wearing one of those loose maternity dresses. Everyone seemed unusually cheerful. Too cheerful. It was the kind of fake happiness that immediately made me suspicious. Mom hugged me when I walked in, which almost never happened. Dad gave me a firm handshake, which was just as strange. Tyler gave me an awkward half smile that looked almost guilty. Right away, I knew something was up. We sat down, ate dinner, and made small talk like everything was perfectly normal. I had to admit the pot roast was really good. When Mom actually tried, she could cook. During dinner, Tyler talked about the baby, the nursery they were putting together, and the name they had chosen. It was a perfectly normal name, and I forgot it almost immediately. I smiled, nodded, and acted interested. Megan showed me the ultrasound pictures on her phone. They looked like blurry black and white shapes to me, but I played along. I said all the right things. Wow, that's great. Yeah, I can see the face. That definitely looks like a foot. All the while, I kept waiting for the real reason I had been invited. The tension kept building, and nobody wanted to bring up the actual subject. We just sat there eating pot roast, talking about the baby, and pretending this was an ordinary family dinner. Then Mom brought out dessert, apple pie, my favourite. That alone told me trouble was coming because she never made apple pie unless she wanted something from me. The last time she baked one was when she wanted me to help Tyler move. Before that, it was because she wanted Dad to borrow my truck for 2 weeks. That pie was not just dessert. It was a warning. Dad slowly cleared his throat and carefully placed his fork on the table like he had rehearsed the moment. I thought to myself, here it comes. He looked at me and finally said, "We wanted to talk to you about something important. It is a family matter." I put my fork down and waited. "Tyler and Megan are starting a family," he said, even though we had spent the entire dinner talking about it. They need a stable home for the baby, a real house instead of an apartment. That makes sense, I replied. Mum jumped in right away. She explained that houses had become so expensive that Tyler and Megan had been searching for months, and that nothing they could afford was suitable for a baby. I looked over at Tyler. He would not even meet my eyes. He just stared down at his pie like it was the most interesting thing in the room. That immediately caught my attention. "That is a tough situation," I said. "Maybe they should expand their search or buy a fixer-upper like I did." Dad leaned forward, folded his hands together, and looked like he was about to make a business deal. "That is exactly what we wanted to talk about," he said. "Your house would be perfect for them." I just stared at him for a second, wondering if I had heard him right. "You live there all by yourself," Mom added. "You have 3 bedrooms and it is only you. Meanwhile, Tyler needs room for a whole family." "So he should find a 3-bedroom house," I said slowly. "Just like I did." "The difference is," Dad replied, "you bought at the right time. You got lucky with the market. Tyler can't afford what you paid back then, let alone what your house is worth now." "That wasn't luck," I said. "I saved for 6 years. Some months I worked 2 jobs. I bought what I could afford and fixed the place up myself." Right, Dad said, waving his hand like none of that mattered. "The point is, you have something Tyler needs, and family helps family." The room went quiet. I looked around the table. Mom was nodding like Dad had just said something brilliant. Megan kept staring at her plate. Tyler still would not look at me. "What exactly are you asking?" I said, even though I already had a bad feeling. "Sign the house over to Tyler," Dad answered. He said it so casually, like he was asking me to pass the salt. "You are single. You do not have kids. You can live anywhere. Rent an apartment. Something practical. Tyler needs that house for his family." I actually laughed because I could not believe what I was hearing. "You want me to give Tyler my house?" "Not give," Mom said quickly. "We would help you pay the first and last month's rent on a nice apartment." "I already own a house," I said. "Why would I trade that for an apartment?" "Because your brother needs it more," Dad replied, using that tone he always had when he thought he was being reasonable. "He has a baby coming. You have a stable career and no one depending on you. You can afford to rent." "I can afford to rent because I do not have to," I said. "I own a house that I bought with my own money." "It is only a house," Mom said. "Family matters more than property." "Then why doesn't the family help Tyler buy his own house?" I asked. "You helped him pay for college. You helped him buy a car. You let him live here rent-free more than once. Why not help him with a down payment?" "We would if we could," Dad said, even though I knew they had the money. "But that is not possible right now. This solution makes the most sense." "For who?" I asked. "Not for me." "Think about the baby," Megan suddenly said. It was the first thing she had said in almost 10 minutes. "Do you not want your niece or nephew to have a good home?" "Of course I do," I answered. "I also want to have a home, preferably the one I already own." Tyler finally spoke. "Come on, man. You know how hard it is to buy a house right now. I'm just trying to provide for my family. I thought you would understand." "I understand that you want my house," I said. "What I do not understand is why you think you are entitled to it." "Entitled?" Dad snapped. "Is that really what you think? This is your brother. Asking for help is entitlement now?" "Asking is one thing," I said. "This is not asking, this is demanding. There is a difference." "We are not demanding anything," Mom said, but I could hear the frustration in her voice. "We are asking you to think about what is best for the family. Put your brother's needs first." "Like I have done my whole life." The words slipped out before I could stop them. The entire table went silent. "What is that supposed to mean?" Dad asked. "Nothing," I said. I was not about to dig into 30 years of family history over pot roast. "Look, I am not signing my house over to Tyler. He needs to find his own place. That is what everyone else does." "People who care about their family help each other," Mom said. "I am willing to help," I replied. "I would help Tyler pack. I would help him move. I would even help paint his new house, but I am not giving him mine." "You are being selfish," Dad said flatly. "I am selfish?" I repeated. "Because I refuse to hand over the house I worked for? That makes me selfish?" "You have always been this way," Mum said, and she sounded genuinely disappointed. "Even when you were little, you only thought about yourself." That one hurt, even though I knew it was not true. It is amazing how your parents can still get under your skin when you are 30 years old. I pushed my chair back and stood up. I think I should leave. Sit down, Dad said. We are not finished. Yes, we are, I answered. There is nothing left to discuss. It is my house, and I am keeping it. End of story. Just think about it, Tyler said. That is all we are asking. Just think about it. I looked at him. He honestly believed this was a reasonable request. He really thought I should give up my house so he would not have to struggle the way I did. I will think about it, I said. Then I walked out. The entire drive home I could not stop shaking. It was not just anger. I was shocked by the nerve they had. They had invited me over for dinner, sat me at the table, and seriously expected me to hand over my house like it was no big deal. When I got home, I sat in my driveway for almost 20 minutes just staring at my house. It was the house everyone said I could never afford, the one I had fixed up with my own hands, the one I was proud of. And my family expected me to give it to Tyler because they thought he needed it more. I finally went inside, locked the door behind me, and stood in the middle of my living room. I looked around my house at the floors I had refinished, the walls I had painted, and the shelves I had built with my own hands. Every part of that place represented my work, my time, my money, and my effort. My family could think whatever they wanted, but my answer was still no. The next morning I called a locksmith and had every lock replaced. The front door, the back door, the side door, and even the garage all got new locks. It cost me $300 and I did not regret spending a penny. I knew exactly how my family operated. Give them a little and they would try to take everything. The locksmith was an older guy named Walter. He never asked why I wanted the locks changed. He just got the job done. It took him about 3 hours to replace them all. I boxed up the old locks and stored them in my garage in case I ever needed proof they had been changed. While Walter was working, I drove to the hardware store and bought a real no trespassing sign. I skipped the polite private property signs and picked one that said, "No trespassing. Violators will be prosecuted." It looked official and made it clear I was serious. I also bought a heavy metal post so nobody could easily pull it out. I installed it at the end of my driveway where anyone coming onto my property would see it. Then I took a picture with my phone so I had a time-stamped record of when I put it up. After that, I called my bank and asked them to freeze any large transactions unless they received my verbal approval. Then I called my mortgage company and added a password to my account. They were surprisingly understanding. Apparently, family disputes like this happen more often than I expected. I picked a completely random passphrase that had nothing to do with my life. Next, I called the county recorder's office to ask if there was a way to protect my property from fraud. I spoke with a clerk named Denise. She had handled situations like mine before and explained how to place an alert on my property deed. If anyone ever tried to file paperwork involving my house, I would be notified immediately. It only cost $15, and it was probably the best money I had ever spent. After that, I gathered every important document I owned. My closing papers, the deed, the title insurance, and all of my mortgage paperwork went into a fireproof safe that I bought at the same hardware store. I scanned copies of everything and uploaded them to 3 different cloud storage accounts, so I would always have backups. Then I changed every password I had. My email, my bank account, and anything else that could be vulnerable all got new passwords. I made every one of them different and wrote them down in a notebook that stayed inside the safe. I also checked my credit report to make sure nobody had done anything suspicious. I locked down everything I could think of because I knew my parents. If they believed something was in Tyler's best interest, they would convince themselves that almost anything was justified. I was not going to make things easy for them. For the next 2 days, nobody contacted me. I figured they were giving me time to think things over, just like Tyler had suggested. Then Wednesday came, and Dad pulled into my driveway. I watched him through the window as he walked up to my front door. He tried his old key, looked confused when it did not work, and finally knocked. I opened the door but stayed in the doorway without inviting him inside. "New locks?" he asked. "Yep." "Why?" "Because it is my house and those are my locks," I answered. He stared at me for a few seconds. "You are really serious about this?" "Completely." "You honestly think I would come into your house without your permission?" "I think you will do whatever you believe is necessary to help Tyler," I said. That is why I changed the locks. His expression hardened. So, that is what you think of your own father? No, I replied. That is what I know after 30 years. We raised you better than this, he said. You raised me to work for what I wanted, I answered. That is exactly what I did. I worked for this house. It belongs to me and I am keeping it. Tyler needs this house, Dad said, clearly getting frustrated. He has a baby coming. He needs stability. Then maybe he should have thought about that before having a baby while renting a place he could barely afford, I said. That is not my responsibility. He is your brother. And he is your son. You can help him if you want. We are trying to. No, I corrected him. You are trying to give him my house. Those are two different things. Dad was silent for a moment before asking, what would it take to change your mind? Nothing, I said without hesitation. There is absolutely nothing you could offer that would make me give Tyler my house. So you are just going to let your brother struggle? Tyler is dealing with the consequences of his own choices, I said. It is not my job to fix them. Family is supposed to help each other, Dad repeated, just like he had several times already. I agree, I said, but there is a limit, and that limit is my house. Dad looked toward the no trespassing sign at the end of my driveway, then back at me. You really think that sign is necessary? He asked. After this conversation, I said. Yeah, I do. He slowly shook his head. You have changed. You are not the son I raised anymore. The son you raised would have just given in and done whatever you wanted, I said. So yeah, I guess I have changed. Dad did not say another word. He turned around, got in his car, and drove away. I watched him leave, then went back inside and locked the door. The next attack came from Mom. She called me on Friday crying, or at least sounding like she was. She said she was worried about the baby, worried about Tyler and Megan, and worried about their future. Then help them, I said. You and Dad have money. Give them a down payment. It is not that simple, she replied. It is exactly that simple, I said. If you want to help Tyler buy a house, then help him buy one. Stop trying to give him mine. But your house is perfect for them, she said. It is exactly what they need. Then they should find one like it, I answered. You are being so cold, she said. No, I am being realistic, I replied. I am 30 years old. I own my house. I am not giving it away because Tyler failed to plan ahead. He is trying to plan now. He is trying to do the right thing. Good for him, I said. He can do that without taking my house. She spent another 20 minutes trying everything she could. Guilt, tears, and emotional pressure. The whole routine. I stayed calm, refused to change my mind, and eventually she gave up and hung up. That night, Tyler sent me a long text. He said he had always looked up to me, admitted we had not always gotten along, and said he thought we had moved past all that. He told me he only wanted what was best for his child. Then he offered to pay me rent if that would change my mind. He suggested turning my house into a rental until he could eventually buy it from me. I never answered. There was nothing to discuss. He was not moving into my house whether he paid rent or not. He was not buying it either. As far as I was concerned, he was never getting anywhere near it. The weekend passed without anything happening. Then Monday, I got a call from a number I did not recognize. A woman introduced herself as a real estate attorney and claimed she was helping my family with a property transfer. She said she just needed to verify some information. I told her I was not transferring any property, then hung up immediately. Right after that, I called the county recorder's office again to make absolutely sure nobody could touch my deed without my physical signature and 2 forms of identification. The clerk was very helpful. Apparently, I was not the first person worried about family trying to take their property. On Tuesday, Megan came to my house by herself. She looked exhausted and nervous as she stood on my porch asking if we could talk. Against my better judgment, I let her inside. I did not offer her anything. She sat on my couch while I stayed near the front door. I know this whole situation is weird, she said. Weird is one way to describe it, I replied. Tyler's parents have a way of making everything complicated. She was quiet for a moment before speaking again. I honestly did not know they were going to ask for your house. Tyler just told me we were going to dinner. When your dad started talking, I wanted to disappear." "You could have spoken up," I said. "I am 6 months pregnant with their grandchild," she answered. "I'm not exactly in a position to challenge the family." I could not really argue with that. "Look," she said, "I understand why you said no. If somebody asked me to give up my home, I would refuse too. But Tyler is panicking. He thinks he is already failing as a father because he cannot provide a house. There are plenty of great dads raising kids in apartments," I said. "I know," she replied. "You know it too. But his parents have convinced him that owning a house is the only way to be a good father." "That is something he needs to work out with them," I said. "I know," she answered. She looked around my living room. "This is a really nice place. You did all of this yourself?" "Most of it," I said. "That is impressive," she replied. She stood up and headed toward the door. "I just wanted to apologize for what happened at dinner. None of this is right." "Thanks," I said. "We will figure something out," she said, "without your house." Then she left. I actually felt bad for her. She seemed like a decent person who had been dropped into family drama that started long before she came along. That was Tuesday. On Wednesday morning, I looked outside and saw Dad's car parked at the end of my driveway. He was not inside it. I looked around until I spotted him standing in my backyard, just staring at my house. I walked out the back door. "What are you doing?" I asked. He turned toward me. "I looked up what you paid for this place. Public records. Then I checked what it is worth now. Congratulations. You have done well." "Thanks," I said. "Tyler could never afford this house at today's price," he continued. "I know," I replied. "You know that, and you still will not help him." "I will not give him my house," I said. "That is different from refusing to help." "What help have you actually offered?" Dad asked. "None," I admitted. "Because he never asked for help. He asked for my house. Those are two completely different things." Dad slowly walked around, looking at the roof, the siding, and the yard. "You have put a lot of work into this place." "I have." "It would be a shame if all that work went to waste." The way he said it immediately put me on edge. "What is that supposed to mean?" I asked. He shrugged. "Nothing. Houses need maintenance. Pipes burst, roofs leak, electrical fires happen." I stared at him. "Are you threatening my house?" "I am not threatening anything," he replied. "I am just saying things happen, especially when people are stubborn," he said. "Get out," I told him. "This is my property. You are trespassing. Leave now." We stood there, staring at each other for what felt like forever. Finally, he shook his head, turned around, and walked back to his car. I watched him drive away, then immediately called my insurance company and increased my homeowner's coverage. After that, I contacted a security company and had cameras installed everywhere. The front door, the back door, the driveway, every angle I could cover. It cost me $800, but I did not care. That night, I walked through my house taking pictures of everything. Every room, every piece of furniture, every corner of the place. I uploaded all of it to cloud storage. If anything ever happened to my house, I wanted proof of exactly how it looked. Then I called my friend Ryan, who is a police officer, and told him everything that had been happening. He told me that if anything happened, I should call him right away. He also suggested I keep records of every conversation and message from my family. So I started a file and saved everything. Thursday was quiet. Friday was too. I started thinking maybe they had finally accepted my answer. Then Saturday morning, Tyler called me. Not a text, an actual phone call. It was the first time he had tried talking to me since that dinner. I let it go to voicemail and listened to it later. He sounded exhausted. He said he understood why I was angry. He apologized for how everything had happened. He said Megan had been crying. Our parents were putting pressure on him, and he did not know what to do anymore. He asked if we could work something out and begged me to call him back. I deleted the voicemail. I felt a little guilty, but not enough to return the call. On Sunday, Mom called. I ignored that one too. She left a voicemail, but I never listened to it. Whatever she wanted to say was not something I needed to hear. On Monday, I received a certified letter from a law firm. The second I saw it, my stomach dropped. I opened it and found a request for mediation over a family property dispute. My family had actually hired a lawyer to try to pressure me into mediation about my house. The letter was filled with legal wording, but the message was obvious. They wanted a mediator to decide what was fair for everyone. I called the lawyer who had handled my home purchase and explained everything. He actually laughed, which made me feel a lot better. "They can ask for mediation all they want," he told me. "You do not have to agree. It is your house, your property, and your decision. Unless they have some legal claim to it, which they do not, they cannot force anything." "So I just ignore the letter?" I asked. "Either that, or let me send them one telling them to back off," he said. "It will cost a couple $100, but it will show them you are serious." "Do it," I said. He sent the letter that same afternoon. It was firm but professional. It made it clear that I had no interest in mediation, that the property belonged solely to me, and that any further harassment could lead to a restraining order. 3 days passed without hearing from anyone. Then, late Thursday night, my doorbell rang at 11 o'clock. I checked my security camera and saw Tyler standing on my porch. He looked terrible. I did not open the door. Instead, I spoke to him through the camera. "What do you want?" I asked. "I just want to talk," he said. "Please." "It is 11 at night." "I know, I am sorry. Can I come in?" "No." He looked straight at the camera. "I'm not here to argue. I just want to talk to you, brother to brother." I stood there for a minute, watching him on my phone. He looked like he had not slept in days. Finally, I said, "You have 5 minutes," and unlocked the door. He came inside and sat on the edge of the couch like he was afraid to get comfortable. I stayed on my feet. "Megan is freaking out," he said. "She thinks the baby is going to come, and we will not have anywhere to raise her." "You have an apartment," I reminded him. "It is only 1 bedroom. We are turning the living room into a nursery, but it is not what she imagined." "Life rarely turns out the way people imagine," I said. He lowered his head. "I know I messed up. I should have saved more. I should have planned better. I cannot change that now. I am just trying to figure out what to do next." "Good," I said. "That is what adults do." He looked up at me. "I thought you would help me." "I would have," I replied, "if you had asked for real help, but you did not. You asked for my house. Mom and Dad said, Mom and—" "I do not care what they said," I interrupted. "This is between you and me. You knew what they were going to ask that night. You sat there while they asked me to hand over my house. You never spoke up. You never defended me. You never said they were asking too much. You just hoped I would agree." He never argued with any of that. "I worked for this house," I continued. "I worked 2 jobs. I lived in terrible apartments. I drove a car that was falling apart. I saved every dollar I could. And you know what I never did? I never expected somebody else to hand me a house. I earned it." "Not everybody is like you," he said quietly. "No," I answered. "Some people expect things to be handed to them." "That is not fair," he said. I laughed. "You want to talk about what is fair? Fine. Was it fair that Mom and Dad paid for your college while I had to work full-time to pay for mine? Was it fair that you got a brand new car while I was driving a rusty old sedan? Was it fair that you moved back home rent-free 4 different times while I had been paying my own bills since I turned 18? Was any of that fair?" He did not answer. "I never complained," I continued. "I never asked Mom and Dad to make things equal. I accepted it, worked harder, and moved on. But now you want my house, and suddenly everyone wants to talk about what is fair." "I didn't know you felt that way," he said quietly. "Because you never asked," I replied. "You never had to. Everything always worked out for you because Mum and Dad made sure it did. This time they cannot give you what you want because it does not belong to them. It belongs to me." He sat there without saying anything for a long moment. Then he finally asked, "What if I earned it? What if I paid you fair market value over time?" I did not even have to think about it. "No, this is not about money. My house is not for sale. Not to you, not to anybody." He sighed. "So what am I supposed to do?" "The same thing everyone else does," I said. "Find a place you can afford. Rent it or buy it. Raise your family there. Be a father wherever you live instead of waiting for someone to hand you the perfect situation. Megan will be fine. Plenty of people raise kids in 1-bedroom apartments. You will figure it out, but you are going to do it without my house." He got to his feet. "You really are not changing your mind?" "No." "Mom and Dad were right about you," he said. "You are selfish." "If protecting what I worked for makes me selfish, then fine," I answered. That is still better than being entitled." He did not argue, he just walked out. No slammed door, no dramatic exit. He simply left. I locked the door behind him, checked the security cameras, and went to bed. The next morning, I woke up to 12 missed calls from Mom. 12. I never called her back. If it had been a real emergency, she would have left a voicemail. She left 3. Every one of them said basically the same thing. She asked how I could be so cruel to my brother, whether I even cared about my family anymore, and what had happened to me. I deleted every one of them. That afternoon, Dad showed up again. I watched him on my security camera standing on my porch and ringing the doorbell. I ignored him. He rang it 6 more times, then started pounding on the door. I stayed on my couch watching him on my phone without moving an inch. After about 10 minutes, he finally gave up and left. An hour later, he sent me a text that said, "This isn't over." I blocked his number, then I blocked Mum's and Tyler's too. If they needed to contact me, they could do it by mail. I was finished with the phone calls, the guilt trips, and all the manipulation. The next few weeks were quiet. Nobody came by. Nobody sent letters. I thought they had finally accepted reality. Then I got an alert from the county recorder's office. Someone had requested copies of my property deed. The alert system I had set up worked exactly like it was supposed to. I called Denise and asked who had requested the records. It was my father. I immediately called my lawyer. He sent another letter, and this one was much stronger than the first. It warned them about harassment and made it clear that any attempt to fraudulently transfer my property could lead to criminal charges. After that, the requests stopped. 2 days before Tyler moved into his new place, I came home from work and found Mom sitting in her car at the end of my driveway. She was not trying to come onto my property. She was just sitting there, watching my house. I pulled into the garage, went inside, and acted like she was not even there. She stayed for 2 hours. I watched her on my driveway camera the whole time. She just sat there staring at my house as if that was somehow going to change my mind. Eventually, she drove away. The day Tyler moved into his new place, Mum sent out a group text. It included pictures of his new condominium, boxes everywhere, and the baby's room half finished. Her message said, "Tyler's new home, so proud of him for doing this on his own." The emphasis was obvious. I did not reply. I just muted the group chat. 3 months later, the baby was born, and another group text came through with a picture of my niece. I looked at the photo for a few seconds. She looked like every other newborn I had ever seen, red and wrinkled. I replied with one word, "Congratulations." Then I left the group chat. A week later, Mom sent me another message. She said I should come meet my niece because family was important, especially now. She told me it was time to put everything behind us. They were having a small family gathering that Sunday at 2 o'clock, and she wanted me there. I never answered. That Sunday at 2 in the afternoon, I was walking through Home Depot buying supplies for my bathroom renovation. I noticed the missed calls later, but never listened to the voicemails. About a month after that, I ran into Tyler at the grocery store. We almost bumped into each other in the produce section. He had the baby strapped to his chest in one of those carriers. She was asleep, wearing a little pink hat. We looked at each other for a few seconds. "Hey," he said. "Hey," I answered. An awkward silence followed. He shifted his weight while the baby let out a quiet little sound in her sleep. "She's cute," I said, because it seemed like the right thing to say. "Thanks," he replied as he adjusted the baby carrier. "Look, I know things are kind of weird, but—" "I have to go," I cut him off before he could finish. I grabbed the apples I needed and walked to another aisle. I heard him call my name once, but I kept walking. I finished my shopping, drove home, and did not think about it again. 2 weeks later, Megan came to my house by herself. The baby was not with her. I saw her on the security camera, recognized her, and almost ignored the door. In the end, I opened it, but I did not invite her inside. I stayed standing in the doorway. "What do you want?" I asked. "5 minutes," she said. "That is all I need." I looked at my watch. "Your 5 minutes start now." "Tyler is miserable," she said. "He knows he handled everything wrong. He knows his parents did too. He wants to apologize, but he does not know how." "That is not my problem," I replied. "I understand," she said. "I know why you are done with them and with all of this. But the baby, your niece, She has not done anything wrong. I never said she had. She is going to grow up without knowing her uncle. That is unfortunate, but plenty of kids grow up without knowing some relatives, I said. She will be fine. Megan looked at me for a few seconds. You really are not changing your mind? No. Not even because of the baby? Especially not because of the baby, I answered. If I give in now, they will use her every time they want something from me. I am not letting that happen. That sounds pretty cold. No, I said, it is smart. I learned a long time ago that my family will take whatever I give them and then ask for even more. That is why I am not giving them anything. She slowly nodded. Okay. I tried. You did. She turned to leave, then stopped. For what it is worth, I think you were right. What they asked you to do was completely insane. I would have said no too. Thanks, I said. Tyler really is a good dad, she added. The condominium is fine, the baby is happy, and we are making it work. Good, I said, and I meant it. I am glad everything worked out. Then she left.